Imagine a world where every challenge you encounter becomes an opportunity, where every failure pushes you forward rather than backward, and where your emotions are not a hindrance but a driver of your success. This is the reality you can create by mastering the art of emotional resilience. In this video, we'll explore together how to turn your emotions into allies, develop unwavering clarity of vision, and learn to adapt to changes to emerge stronger. You'll discover examples of iconic historical figures who overcame adversity and how you too can apply these principles in your life. Ready to turn every obstacle into a springboard? Stay with us until the end to discover how to unlock your full potential. Tom 1. The importance of emotional control in success. Success is often viewed through the prism of effort, skill, and opportunity. But there is a much more subtle, yet crucial dimension that distinguishes those who truly succeed from those who stagnate: managing emotions. Far from being a simple matter of raw talent or hard work, lasting success depends above all on our ability to navigate the emotional waves that arise throughout our journey. Let's take a moment to think about what happens when we are overwhelmed by powerful emotions: frustration, anger, anxiety, or fear. These feelings, as natural as they are, can impair our judgment, disrupt our concentration, and interfere with our decisions. Imagine yourself facing a stressful situation at work, extreme pressure to deliver an important project. If you get carried away by your emotions, it's easy to make hasty decisions, react impulsively, and make regrettable mistakes. On the other hand, if you are able to control your emotions, take a deep breath, stay calm, and think before acting, you will not only keep your cool, but you will also make decisions that bring you closer to your goals. This emotional control does not mean repressing or ignoring what we feel. On the contrary, it is about recognizing and understanding our emotions, and then choosing how to respond to them constructively. Those who control their emotions are not robots without feelings. They are aware of what they are feeling, but they have learned to channel these emotions productively, to use them as a lever to move forward rather than as a brake. One of the most powerful aspects of emotional control is that it allows us to maintain clear vision, even in the most turbulent times. For example, when everything seems to be going wrong, when challenges multiply and the temptation is strong to let yourself be overwhelmed by frustration, it is at this precise moment that self-control becomes a strategic asset. The world will not stop spinning because of your emotions. Therefore, stepping back, breathing deeply, and making rational decisions, without getting carried away by the inner storm, becomes a key factor that separates great leaders from followers. Now imagine a situation in which you are negotiating a professional opportunity or working in a team. Stress can easily lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, or unconstructive reactions. If you lose control of your emotions, you risk damaging crucial professional relationships, or worse, derailing opportunities. However, by controlling your emotional reactions, you are able to maintain respectful and productive exchanges, which allows you to emerge from negotiations with a beneficial solution while strengthening the relationship with your colleagues. Emotional control is also vital in the face of adversity. No matter how much effort or talent one puts into a business, there will always be difficult times. These moments of doubt, loss, or failure are inevitable. What separates those who succeed from those who fail is their ability to manage the emotional impact of these experiences. Those who let their emotions take over risk, letting themselves be overcome by disappointment, failure, or anger, and may even give up before achieving their goal. But those who know how to channel these emotions into a propulsive force are able to learn from each failure and continue moving forward with greater determination. It is this emotional resilience that allows some people to bounce back after each fall, find the motivation to start again, and persevere in the pursuit of their dreams, regardless of the obstacles. Let's take a classic example: Abraham Lincoln. As the Civil War devastated America, and personal and political trials continued to strike him, Lincoln remained calm and rational. Instead of allowing himself to be overcome by anxiety or anger, he used his emotions to fuel his ability to resolve conflicts, make critical decisions wisely, and guide his country through a period of upheaval. He did not react impulsively to pressure. He responded with calm, strategy, and clarity, turning his emotional control into a major asset in his leadership. Emotional control, therefore, does not consist of suppressing our feelings, but of understanding them,
welcoming them, and using them as a powerful resource in the pursuit of our goals. Those who succeed have learned to see their emotions not as enemies to be defeated, but as allies that they know how to use wisely. In doing so, they avoid the pitfalls of impulsive reaction and make more thoughtful and wise decisions. That said, how can you begin to develop this emotional mastery? The first step is to observe your emotions. Take a step back whenever you feel a strong emotion. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? Sometimes, what is behind the anger or frustration may be an unmet need or a missed goal. By identifying the source of your emotions, you will be better able to respond constructively. It takes time, practice, and patience. But each small step toward mastering your emotions brings you closer to success. Emotional control is therefore a fundamental element of success, and it may be the key that allows some people to stand out in competitive environments. By choosing to control your emotions, you put yourself in an ideal position to make strategic decisions, stay focused on your goals, and turn obstacles into opportunities. It's not about eliminating emotions, but about making them servants of your ambitions. 2. Inspiring examples of emotional resilience. History is full of figures who have embodied emotional resilience, and whose lessons still resonate today. These men and women, far from being superheroes insensitive to pain or adversity, knew how to use their emotions as powerful engines of their success. Take the example of Abraham Lincoln, a leader who weathered emotional and national storms of rare intensity, but who always knew how to remain calm and reflective. It was this self-control that allowed him to lead America through one of its most tumultuous times. Lincoln experienced a succession of personal losses and political challenges during his presidency. The American Civil War, ongoing conflicts, and the tragic loss of his son inflicted unimaginable suffering on him. Yet, despite this deep pain, Lincoln was able to maintain a clear vision and exemplary calm. In a context where many leaders would have given in to pressure, allowing themselves to be overcome by anger, sadness, or frustration, Lincoln demonstrated that a large part of his leadership lay in his ability to remain calm, even in the face of cataclysmic events. He knew that an impulsive or emotional reaction at such times would only make the situation worse. This inner calm, this refusal to let himself be controlled by his emotions, allowed him to make strategic decisions that shaped the future of America. But Lincoln was not a man without emotions. Quite the contrary. During the Civil War, his emotions were often on edge, but he knew how to transform them into constructive energy. He did not run away from his feelings, but he mastered them and used them to guide his actions. For example, when he decided to give his famous Gettysburg speech, a moment when the nation's emotion was at its peak, he knew how to use it to ease tensions, restore hope, and inspire a nation at war. Rather than allowing himself to be overwhelmed by the scale of conflict and pain, he used his emotions to strengthen his commitment to the Union cause and to mobilize his people. In the same register of emotional resilience, the story of Thomas Edison is another striking example. Edison, the inventor of the electric light bulb, is often cited as the epitome of perseverance. But what we often forget
is that before achieving his famous inventions, Edison experienced a succession of resounding failures. It is even said that he failed more than 10,000 times before succeeding in designing a functional incandescent lamp. What sets Edison apart from others is not his intelligence or creative genius, but his ability to turn every failure into a valuable lesson and rise stronger with every fall. Instead of allowing himself to be crushed by disappointment or anxiety, Edison saw his failures not as obstacles, but as necessary steps to accomplishing his goal. When asked how he felt after so many failed attempts, he replied, "I didn't fail. I just found 10,000 ways that don't work." This ability to bounce back from each failure and learn from it is one of the most powerful aspects of emotional resilience. Edison did not let his frustrations guide him into giving up. On the contrary, he directed his emotions in a way that made them a force that propelled him towards the realization of his dream. These examples teach us that emotional resilience lies not in the absence of strong emotions, but in how we manage them. Whether in contexts of war, repeated failure, or personal loss, these individuals understood that their emotions could either paralyze them or push them to act with even greater determination. The art of emotional resilience is about transforming pain, frustration, and fear into constructive energy. These emotions, far from being enemies, become powerful allies when channeled in a positive way. But how can we, on our own scale, learn to do the same? The key lies in self-reflection and the ability to identify our emotions as they arise. Rather than rejecting them or letting them overwhelm us, we must observe them, understand them, and consciously decide how to use them. It takes time, practice, and, above all, a willingness to go beyond immediate reaction. We all have times when anger, fear, or sadness arise. What makes the difference is what we choose to do with these emotions. By choosing not to react impulsively, but instead to take a moment to reflect and act calmly, we can ensure that our emotions serve us rather than control us. Finally, these historical examples remind us that emotional resilience is a skill that develops over time and experience. It is not built overnight, but is the result of constant practice. Every failure, every challenge, every disappointment is an opportunity to strengthen this ability to control our emotions and transform difficulties into opportunities. Like Lincoln and Edison, we all have the capacity to become more emotionally resilient and to use our emotions as a powerful engine to achieve our dreams. 3. The key to resilience: clarity of objectives. Life is full of uncertainties, distractions, and challenges that can easily lead us astray. However, there is a simple but powerful principle that helps navigate these stormy seas: having clear and precise goals. When we have a clear vision of what we want to accomplish, our emotions transform in astonishing ways. Rather than being a brake, they become a propulsive force, an inexhaustible source of motivation that helps us weather storms and overcome obstacles. Clarity of goals is not just a practical tool. It is the fundamental element that transforms our vague dreams into concrete actions. One of the most emblematic examples of this idea can be found in the history of Walt Disney. Despite repeated failures and numerous financial and personal obstacles, Disney never lost sight of its ultimate goal: to create a magical place where people could escape from their daily lives and enjoy unique experiences. His vision, as ambitious as it was, is what kept him on track, even when all seemed lost. Each rejection, each difficulty encountered became a simple temporary obstacle, a challenge to overcome to achieve a greater goal. Disney did not see failures as impenetrable walls, but as necessary detours to refine his vision. Disney's clear vision not only guided his actions, but it also fueled his emotional resilience. It's easy to become overwhelmed with frustration or become discouraged when faced with obstacles. But Disney knew that to complete a project of this magnitude took more than just willpower. It took an unwavering belief in its goal. This mental clarity, this ability to maintain its vision in mind despite adversity, allowed Disney to face the harsh reality of failure with a certain serenity. Each failure was just a step towards his ultimate goal, a way to get one step closer to realizing his dream. Another example that powerfully illustrates this idea of clarity of objectives is that of Henry Ford. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Ford did not seek to revolutionize the automobile simply to make money or to satisfy an existing need. His vision was much more ambitious. He wanted to make the automobile accessible to everyone, to transform the way people lived and moved. He firmly believed that the car should become a common consumer good and not a luxury reserved for an elite. At a time when the automobile was considered a prestige object, Ford persisted with his idea, despite numerous criticisms and financial obstacles. Just like Disney, Ford faced failures, miscalculations, industry pushback, and even production problems. But each setback did not shake his determination. Rather, he used each difficulty as an opportunity to further clarify his vision. His ability to keep his goal in mind, to not get carried away by the frustrations of the moment, has been an essential key to his success. He knew that for his vision to take shape, he had to not only believe in it, but also make it concrete through precise and consistent actions. The clarity of his purpose pushed him to innovate, perfect his processes, and persevere even when everything seemed against him. What these two figures show us is that one of the cornerstones of emotional resilience is having a clear vision of what you want to achieve. This allows us to direct our emotions constructively, transform obstacles into necessary steps, and maintain constant motivation, even in the most difficult times. When you have a specific goal, your emotions no longer overwhelm you. They become fuel that pushes you to move forward, adapt, and face uncertainty with confidence. But clarity of objectives is not just limited to an abstract vision of the future. It also involves concrete action, a daily commitment towards this vision. It's not just about dreaming about what you want to accomplish, but translating those dreams into measurable, achievable, and actionable goals. For example, Disney didn't just dream of Disneyland. It took specific steps, sought funding, and began to make its dream a reality through tangible actions. Ford, likewise, did not simply imagine an affordable automobile. He designed production plans, improved industrial processes, and created an assembly line that radically transformed the automobile industry. In our own lives, it is crucial to follow this example. If we want to develop emotional resilience in the face of challenges, we first need a clear vision of what we want to achieve, then a series of concrete steps to get there. When you have a well-defined goal, each difficulty becomes an opportunity to test your commitment and strengthen your resolve. You know why you keep moving forward, and that's what gives your emotions meaning, direction. The importance of goal clarity goes beyond simple motivation. It also shapes how we respond to setbacks. When the goal is unclear, frustration can quickly take over, and uncertainty can paralyze us. But when the goal is specific, each challenge becomes an opportunity to learn and grow. Every emotion, whether frustration, fear, or even joy, finds its place in this journey towards realizing our dreams. So the key to resilience lies in this clarity. If you are clear about what you want to accomplish, your emotions will become powerful allies that will guide you towards success, rather than enemies that will lead you astray. Whether in times of uncertainty or in the face of adversity, clarity of your goals will give you the strength to stay motivated and persevere, no matter what challenges you encounter along the way. 4. Emotional adaptability, the art of adapting to change. In a constantly changing world, it has become clear that those who succeed are not those who resist change, but those who know how to embrace it. True emotional strength lies not in rigidity, but in the ability to be flexible in the face of unforeseen challenges. Indeed, at every stage of our lives, we are faced with unexpected circumstances, failures or upheavals that are beyond our control. However, it is how we respond to these events that often determines whether we will flourish or collapse. This ability to adapt to changes, to face uncertainty without losing our balance is an essential pillar of emotional resilience. Take the example of Charles Darwin, a man who, long before the notion of emotional resilience was popularized, understood that adaptability is an essential quality to survive and thrive. Although often cited in the context of biological evolution, the principles he formulated in the theory of natural selection are equally valid in the emotional and personal realm. Darwin observed that in nature it was not necessarily the strongest or fastest creatures that survived, but those that were best prepared to adapt to changes in their environment. The same goes for humans. In life, adversity is inevitable. Whether it's a professional setback, a failure in a personal project, or even unexpected changes in our personal lives, we face times when everything seems turned upside down. It is in these moments of crisis that emotional adaptability becomes crucial. Those who manage to get through these difficult times are not those who fight against the flow, but those who know how to adjust to the new situation and learn from each obstacle. They understand that, in the face of uncertainty, rigidity leads nowhere. Flexibility, on the other hand, opens doors and offers new perspectives. Emotional adaptability means having the ability to remain calm and think when events take an unexpected turn. It is not a passive attitude which consists of submitting without resistance, but rather a proactive approach which consists of assessing the situation, adjusting one's expectations and behaviors, and reorienting oneself towards viable solutions. For example, in a work environment where priorities are constantly changing, those who stubbornly cling to an initial plan risk finding themselves overwhelmed. But those who are able to pivot, accept new challenges, and reorganize their efforts are much better equipped to overcome adversity. Another important aspect of emotional adaptability is not seeing obstacles as failures, but as opportunities for growth. This is precisely what we teach Thomas Edison, which, as we know, failed many times before succeeding. Edison never saw his mistakes as definitive failures. He treated them as experiments that helped him adjust his method. With each new failure, he adjusted his strategy, modified his approach, and continued to learn. It was this ability to respond positively to challenges that made him the successful inventor we know today. The idea here is to develop a flexible mindset, capable of transforming every situation into a learning opportunity. Emotional adaptability involves understanding that every change, even negative, carries with it a lesson that can make us stronger and wiser. For example, in a situation of loss, whether it is a breakup, a layoff, or the loss of a loved one, it is natural to feel sadness, anger, or frustration. However, those who manage to overcome these challenges do not allow themselves to be overwhelmed by their emotions. They take the time to understand what they feel, then they transform this pain into inner strength to evolve. They know that every difficult experience is fertile ground for personal growth. Emotional adaptability is not just about handling setbacks, but also about how we respond to changes in our environment. We must accept that the world we live in is constantly changing. Technologies, societies, relationships, everything is changing rapidly, and we must be ready to adapt. Those who succeed in thriving in this context are those who develop emotional agility. that is, the ability to adjust to circumstances without being paralyzed by fear or uncertainty. One of the most effective ways to cultivate emotional agility is to practice mindfulness, which helps us stay grounded in the present without getting carried away by our fears of the future or our regrets of the past. By learning to observe our emotions without judgment, we can better understand what is happening within us and respond more thoughtfully. This allows us to step back, consider our options, and respond to the situation strategically, rather than reacting impulsively. People who successfully adapt to change are also those who see life as a continuous learning process. They do not seek to avoid difficulties, but embrace them as opportunities to own their emotional resilience. This is how great leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs thrive. They know that the only constant in life is change, and instead of resisting it, they use it to progress. To summarize, emotional adaptability is one of the most important skills to cultivate if you want to successfully navigate life's vicissitudes. It is not a question of resistance or rigidity, but of flexibility, openness to change, and the ability to transform challenges into learning opportunities. Those who succeed are those who know how to adapt, who understand that constant evolution is an integral part of success. It is this ability to change, to reinvent ourselves, and to grow through challenges that allows us to overcome obstacles and achieve our goals. 5. Continuous learning, the foundation of emotional growth. In a world where information is omnipresent and challenges continue to multiply, it is easy to think that once a certain level of success is achieved, the biggest obstacle is behind us. Many believe that once they reach a certain peak, there is no longer any need to seek to learn more, that they have it all figured out, or that they have achieved some form of mastery. Yet one of the most fatal mistakes we can make is believing we have reached the end of learning. In reality, the real key to lasting success lies in a simple but powerful principle: continuous learning. It is this perpetual process of improvement, of seeking new knowledge, and of questioning our certainties that builds our emotional resilience and prepares us to face challenges ever more effectively. Learning isn't limited to books or formal studies. It can be done in every experience of life, whether success or failure. Moreover, it is often through mistakes and setbacks that we learn the most. Each failure is not an end in itself, but an opportunity to grow, to question our practices, and to strengthen our capacity to make more informed and wiser decisions in the future. How we respond to these situations is a learning process in itself. If we see every difficulty as an opportunity for improvement rather than an insurmountable obstacle, we cultivate emotional resilience that becomes the foundation for our personal and professional growth. Take the example of Andrew Carnegie, one of the greatest entrepreneurs in history. Born into a modest family in Scotland, he came to the United States as a poor immigrant with no formal education and few resources. But he had an insatiable thirst for learning. Carnegie did not wait for opportunities to come to him. He sought to educate himself as an autodidact, reading books and learning from his experiences. He understood early on that constant learning was the fuel that would fuel his future ambitions and decisions. Thanks to this thirst for knowledge and openness to learning, he gradually created an industrial empire in metal and steel, becoming one of the richest men in the world. Learning never stopped for Carnegie. Even while running his empire, he continued to learn, adapt to new technologies, and look for new ways to improve his business. This commitment to learning not only helped him make wise financial decisions,